Before I start, I'd like to give a quick shout out to Creeps Gamer for sending me these stories to narrate. Story number 1. I have to go back there. As I walked along the dirt path, I remembered how much fun I had here when I was little. My family lived out in the woods, so I knew this path by heart. Hell, I could name every rock in the first half-mile of the path. The muggy air of the spring day clinged to me in a familiar way as I walked, and the lush green trees stared at me in an eerie silence. A squirrel broke the silence of the surrounding woods, and a slight brisk breeze licked at my back behind me. Then I stopped. I looked at the crack in the trail that lay before me. Ever since I was a child, I have always been told not to go past the line because I would get lost. But now, I'm 25 years old, and I won't get lost. As I passed the crack, all sound around me stopped. A lead weight pulled down in my gut as if I were doing something wrong, but I pushed through it. I continued to walk as the sky, once a light baby blue without a cloud in sight, however it now became overcast. As I continued, I felt as if something was hidden in the bushes watching me. As I walked further and further into this trail, I felt more and more afraid. I continued, but I felt the lead weight in my gut grow more and more heavier by the second. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of a humanoid creature walking behind a tree. When I looked, I saw a giant humanoid tree. It looked at me with two hollow black holes in its bark. It had knobs on its chest and shoulders. The beast's head and torso had small twig-like branches growing out of it. Then it started to lumber towards me with long, deliberate strides. Without another thought, I bolted back down the trail. As I ran, my legs and chest burned in agony from exhaustion as I finally reached the edge of the forest trail. All of a sudden, I tripped on a rock. My hopes of escape left me. I was left on the ground with only fear and the lead weight in my stomach. As I got up to run, I looked back and I saw it running towards me, each step sending rumbles throughout the ground below. I dashed out of the trail as one of its sharp wooden fingers slashed through my shirt, leaving a long gash down my back. I sprinted towards my truck. I dove in, pushing the keys into the ignition, and slammed the gas pedal down, speeding away. I swear to this day that when I looked back through my rearview mirror, it was right at the edge of the trail, watching me with its black, hollowed eyes. Once I reached my house, I locked it down. I patched up the gash on my back. I didn't go to the hospital because I've always been stubborn about going, since they were always so expensive. I felt exhausted afterward from the adrenaline rush, and passed out on the couch. I am now 30, and as of writing this, I have never gone to the woods, and sometimes I can see a wooden arm disappear behind a tree, either in the corner of my vision or in my rearview mirror. I'm starting to wander closer to the forest. I can't stop myself from thinking about it all the time. I know I mustn't go back there. However, even though curiosity killed the cat, satisfaction brought him back. And I'm going to see what that monster wants of me. Story number 2. A simple warning. You know that feeling when you close your eyes in a shower as you are washing your hair? That existential dread? That lead weight in your stomach? Those are there for a reason. Monsters lurk in every shadowed corner of your mind that you so desperately try to hide away. From childhood to manhood, you're always told, there is nothing there. Stop being so childish. Nothing down there is going to hurt you. These fears become pushed away and hidden, blanketed by the rationality of our minds. We develop them because of the normalities of society. We see fear as a sign of weakness, when we should hold on to these fears. There, did you see it? Something was looking at you just now, watching, waiting, planning. It waits until you turn away from it, your gaze no longer reaching it. Monsters are everywhere. but they are very adept at hiding now, as well as luring. They were almost wiped out because of our technological advances. They have grown to use more manipulative and patient plan of action than their direct and forceful approach back when we were in caves and tribes. Their patience, however, is running thinner and thinner. They have started to learn faster and more efficient ways to attract and kill us. They have already started to blend in as normal people, wearing skin suits of their recent victims. They are very hard to detect because they watch you, taking notes in their minds of how you act, to then attract more of us when they use you as a suit. We need to be aware of them, and our surroundings. Every day, more and more of them disguise themselves as their latest victims to attract more and more. They take leaders, average workers, children, men, women, elderly. They do not stop and will not stop until they have devoured every last one of us. So be wary the next time you take a shower, because one of them might decide to get a new disguise. Story number 3. Never go camping at Shepherd Forest. I love camping. It has been a hobby of mine ever since I was 5. My family and I went on camping trips every time I got a break from work. This year, however, none of my family members had the time to go on my December trip. So I asked some of my friends as well, but only Jake was able to make it. This year, I decided we would camp at Shepherd Forest because it had really good reviews. As we pulled in, I noticed that there was no one else camping. I brushed it off as just us having come during a slow time of the year. When we got out of the truck, we heard a light crunch from the colored leaves below us. The sky was blanketed in a long gray cloud. The air was muggy, which told us that rain was coming soon. Jake and I quickly set up camp. Once we set it up, we unloaded a week's worth of food and drinks. Almost the second we got in our sleeping bags, we heard the crackle of thunder and rain falling like bullets from the night sky. It was then I heard it. At first, it was almost inaudible due to the downpour outside. A slight patter of footsteps, or a breath exhaled with the wind beat at the trees above. It progressively became more and more noticeable. Then the clicks started. A click here, a patter of feet there, and a wheeze next to our tent. I was terrified. But then the noises, from whatever it was, suddenly stopped. I slowly started to fall asleep, then I heard it again. It mimicked a human, but the sound was off. It sounded like a man. He was asking for someone to help him find his son, but I knew it was just trying to bait me. Then Jake awoke. In a hushed tone, I told him everything that had happened. Jake, after hearing this, whispered to me, "I'm going to check it out. Stay safe in here. If you think that you are in danger, then scream and run." He stopped for a second. "If I do not come back within 5 minutes," with that, Jake left the tent to see what was out there. After a little while, despite his warnings, I went looking for Jake, but I could not find him anywhere. I looked all over. Then, behind the tent, a bush began to shake. Thinking it was Jake, I quickly rushed over, only to find that he was being eaten alive. This thing was eating Jake! This monster was about 3/4 of the way down with him. The sound of tearing flesh was sickening. This monster had a humanoid, slender-like body. However, it was proportioned all wrong. The lanky arms at its sides holding Jake's bottom half were too long for its body. Its head was the only thing besides its shoulders which seemed to fit correctly. The beast's large mouth opened, revealing sharp, long teeth, spaced out long and evenly in rows. It seemed like they were fragile. However, the teeth tore through Jake's flesh with ease. Jake's tailbone snapped. The noise returned me to my conscious, and I ran. Once I got to my truck, I hopped inside, turning the key in the engine. I don't even think I put it in the right gear. I heard a light pattering footsteps sprinting towards me, and I drove away like a madman. Once I got home, I decided to do research on Shepherd Forest. I looked everywhere, but I couldn't find anything about a monster. Then I saw police case files. There were hundreds of missing persons cases in and around Shepherd Forest. The next day, I filed a missing report case for Jake, even though I know they will never find him. Now, years later, I am posting this here. I can still hear clicks at night, and on the rare occasion, Jake calling me to come back to the forest for him. But I know it's just the monster luring me back out there. Please, heed my warning, and never go camping at Shepherd Forest. Before we get to our last story, I just want to thank you all so much for listening. I've almost hit 200 subscribers, which is a gigantic milestone for me. If you are new to this channel and enjoy this type of content, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Now, back to our story. Story number 4. Suicide doesn't ever end in happiness. As I slowly opened my eyes, I saw my own veins pulse in and out, in and out. I decided to shut them again, and think of what brought me to this detrimental decision. My fiancée left me without saying a word. She packed her bags while I slept after I had lost my job to an ex-office assistant. When I woke up, I had walked into my bathroom to shave. However, instead of a clean mirror, I saw a bright yellow post-it note stuck on. The note said, "Jacob, you may be wondering why I'm not in the house and why my things are gone. I've decided that I no longer love you, and I only have to say one thing to you. Goodbye." The next few days, I spent lying down on my bed asking myself why she left me. Once I finally forgave myself, I received a letter. The letter had said, "Dear Mr. Jacob Shepherd, we are very sorry to announce that your only living family members, Mr. and Mrs. Shepherd, have died in a car accident. The burial will be held August 30th. This news had plunged me into a deep, dark depression. Some kind of dog-like animal appeared in a shadowy corner of the hallway as I walked to my room. I tripped and froze in place, not being able to move. As the animal started to slowly and methodically lumber towards me, I saw its body. However, this was no regular animal. This was some kind of demon. The flesh of this thing was rotting, and the open wounds on it revealed bones. On the thing's back where a tail would have been was a single erected bone jutting out of a small hollowed hole. The head of it was covered with some kind of mask. It looked into my eyes with its own. No, these were no eyes. These were just empty, deep, dark, black holes. The empty spaces where the eyes should have been were hypnotizing. They seemed to suck me in. If it wasn't for that stench that filled my nostrils, that fucking horrid stench, I would have lost all senses. All of me would have been sucked into those holes. Then the monster spoke with its demonic, deep, monotone voice, with what seemed to be a child's voice right behind its own. "You are not good enough. Why did she leave you? You should just die." Thoughts then zoomed through my mind about darkness, about death. It then disappeared as quickly as it had appeared. I sat on my bed contemplating everything that has happened recently. I decided I should get some sleep. That night, I dreamt about the monster watching me as I walked down a long corridor. I opened one of the doors to see myself about to jump off a tall building. I tried to look away as I jumped, however, I couldn't look away. My eyes glued to my body jumping off the tall building, then splatting into a puddle of dark crimson liquid. The next day, I woke up in my bed and remembered the beast, and had a chill fall down my spine. The next year or two had a single event like this one. I'd gotten a new girlfriend. She was like a delicate blossom. On our first date, we went to the movies, and she asked me to follow her afterwards. She brought me into a field of roses in the park. We were under a metal roof since it was raining, and she said that she loved me, and she would like to be with me for the rest of her life. Afterwards, she kissed me. We were living happily for the next 2 years, and we got married as her statement. She said, "I love you, Jacob. I wish I could be with you for the rest of our lives." A month of sunny days, love, and happiness. We then found out she was pregnant with a little baby girl. Excited, I started brainstorming many names. Evangeline, she had offered, and I loved the name. It reminded me of a field of purple wildflowers. Oh, I had loved my wife so much. A few months later, the baby was being delivered. However, during the delivery, the air around me went cold, and I could see the thing again. It was sitting in a shadowed corner of the hospital room. I then said in my mind, "Oh fuck, please say that is my imagination. Please say that nothing bad will happen." Once the baby was born, the doctor broke the news to us. Evangeline was stillborn. The next month, my wife couldn't cope with this, and she ended up committing suicide in front of me. Her blood, my wife's blood, the love of my life's blood sprayed out of her neck. Blood spurted all over me. I wish it didn't end like this. I wish I could have been with her longer. I loved her so much. Why did this happen to me? Why is this all happening to me? Why? Did I do something wrong? I'm starting to think that the monster is right. I saw the thing about an hour ago. It appeared in front of me and said, "Kill yourself. You are no longer needed by anyone. You have no one. You can end it all now. You can be happy." I've been barricaded for days, maybe months, maybe years. It feels like an eternity. I just have been barricaded in my house, my room, my mind, in my notebook. The thing appeared again, and it's just staring at me. It stood up, turning into a robed figure such as a human. Out of its robe, it pulled the darkness inside a noose. The noose was then attached to the roof, however attached, like if it were just glued on, or like there forever, built into the building itself. I can no longer control myself. I'm on my bed in front of the noose. I think it is my turn now. It is watching me from a shadowed corner, just standing, watching. My neck is now in the noose. I can't pull away. With my fleeting vision, I now can only think of jotting down one thing as my final words. No word. To whomever reads this. Goodbye. Signed, J.S. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And for those of you who do often deal with suicidal ideations on a daily basis, remember that there is a National Suicide Prevention Lifeline that you can call 24 hours a day for free. It's at 1-800-273-8255.